Hi guys, another question of prelims 2022 that is partially solvable through previous year questions and partially through logical thinking is given on the rightmost part of your screen in the column headed prelims 2022 question. Now in this question we had four statements about the office of Deputy Speaker of Lok Sabha and we were required to identify the correct statements. In order to save time, I'm not going through all the four statements because just to solve this question, we need only the second and the fourth statement. So if you are interested in reading all four statements, please pause the video and go through them. But for our purpose, as I told you, the first and the third statements are not needed. So let us come directly to the second statement. It says there is a mandatory provision that the election of a candidate as Deputy Speaker of Lok Sabha shall be from either the principal opposition party or the ruling party, right? So the stress of the statement is on the mandatory provision part. Come directly to the respective PYQ. It was asked in the year 2017. This question had two statements. Again, you were required to identify the correct statements. Come to the second statement of this question. It says, according to the provisions laid down in the Constitution, right? So this is addressing the mandatory provision part of the second statement of 2022 question. So the second statement of 2017 says, according to the provisions laid down in the Constitution of India, in Lok Sabha, the speaker's post goes to the majority party and the deputy speaker's post goes to the opposition. The answer to this question is delta. Delta is neither one nor two. So the second statement is incorrect. That means there is no such provision in the Constitution of India. This means that the second statement of 2022 is incorrect. There is no mandatory provision about what is stated in the second statement of 2022. If the second statement is incorrect, come to the options. We can eliminate Bravo and Delta. Both of these have the second statement. Now, we don't need to worry about the third statement because it is given in both options A and C. Either the first statement is correct or the fourth statement is correct, right? So we just need to decipher which one of these is correct. For our purpose, the first statement is not what we are going to read because it is simply talking about some provisions of law and there is no controversy or nothing logically that we can approach the statement. It's a bland statement, it's a neutral kind of statement, so knowledge based statement it is. We can't solve it through logical thinking, but the fourth statement is of our interest, right? So the fourth statement says the well established parliamentary practice. So it is not talking about provisions of law or constitution, it is talking about a parliamentary convention. The well established parliamentary practice regarding the appointment of deputy speaker is that let me just read it again. The well established parliamentary practice regarding the appointment of deputy speaker is that the motion is moved by the speaker and is duly seconded by the prime minister, right? So assuming that you don't know what is given in the constitution, if you don't know what is given in the constitution and if you have that kind of risk appetite, let us assess the second part, the latter part of this statement. It says this motion has to be duly seconded by the prime minister. If it is to be seconded by the prime minister, that means it requires agreement. The prime minister has to agree to that person, the nomination of that person, the appointment of that person as deputy speaker. And you know that the post of speaker and deputy speaker carry a lot of authority in the parliament, in Lok Sabha, right? So given the stiff competition that is between the political parties in India, do you feel that the opposition party is going to accept a candidate which has to get agreement of the prime minister, acceptance of the prime minister who's from the ruling party to become the deputy speaker? It's very difficult. It's very difficult. So there'll be a lot of controversy if this were correct, right? Normally, things, whether it is the provisions of law or convention like a parliamentary practice, whatever it is, these things are consensual. These things are there to to remove friction, to help in smooth functioning of the parliament or whatever is the system we are talking about. So this particular thing, the duly seconded by the prime minister part, is of course going to create a lot of friction. Unnecessary controversies will be there, and therefore it seems highly unlikely that the fourth statement is correct. Now, I told you before starting the discussion of this statement that you need to have that kind of risk appetite if you are in a position in exam, and if you have that mental space to think about it. In my opinion, the fourth statement should not be marked as correct because of the reason I've already told. If the fourth statement is incorrect, the best answer to this question becomes alpha, because we can eliminate Charlie with this approach. So guys, this is how previous year questions help. They help us directly. Sometimes they help us in knowing what all things can be asked, and of course they help in building our logical thinking, our reasoning skills also. So you cannot really afford to miss previous year questions. There is one more question I want to discuss with you in the context of this question. Although it is not directly related to it, it is not helping us solve this question, but it is giving us an idea about what all things can be asked, in what way these can be asked, and what is asked about the Speaker of Lok Sabha can be asked about the Deputy Speaker as well, right? So this question came in the year 2012. In this, we had three statements about the office of Lok Sabha Speaker, and three points were given. The first one is talking about the fact that he or she will hold office during the pleasure of the president. The second one is talking about if the speaker is not a member of the house at the time of his election, then she has to become a member within 6 months, right? And the last statement is talking about the resignation, that the resignation has to be addressed to the deputy speaker, and you were required to identify the correct statements. So these kind of things, if they can be asked about speaker, the same things can be asked about deputy speaker also. Similarly, if something can be asked about, has been asked about the president of India, the same things can be asked about the vice president also, right? So this extrapolation you have to do. Around 5 questions are there on the issue of speaker oblique deputy speaker, which have been asked in the previous year questions so far. I will put all of these 5 questions in the PDF, and of course, if you wish to purchase that, it is available. The PDF is available at rupees 99. Thank you for joining me today, guys. See you next time.